Welcome everybody. Let's look at what's going on in the market. We'll first look at the Dow Jones Transportation. This is the 2 hour. Let me get over to the daily. To the daily. All right. So this big old cycle ends way out there in October, like the third week of October, going that way. Okay. The next small cycle is July 30th. Which kind of matches up with some other cycle lows kind of around in August, early August. You can see today, we'll get to it in a moment, but there was a small update here. But for the most part, the Dow Jones still looking weak here. It's still in positive momentum territory, just a little bit above this line by just a little bit here on the daily chart. But the Dow Jones Transportation still looks weak to me. Now, the 2 hour chart that we just saw there for a moment was pretty strong, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to change it, to make a big change in the daily. We'll have to see how this goes. Now, there is a little bit of a bottoming going on in here, so we may see this. Okay. But if momentum gets negative here, if it crosses over into negative territory, you might not get a big bounce. You might just get something kind of like that and then down. So the Dow Jones, even though it was a kind of a strong day, and the market was very strong today for some of the other markets as well, but the Dow Jones overall still looks kind of weak to me. Let's look at the Russell 2000 here. Let me get the daily chart. Cycles up. And you can see these cycles have been pretty good. Bam, bam. This one's a little early, right on time there. Not much going on in this cycle though, just very flat. Came down, tracking sideways, a slight bullish tendency going on here, very slight bullish tendency going on. Which makes sense as we start this new cycle. See, when does this cycle end? September 21st. Okay. So, SMI trying to go up, not doing a very good job of it, and momentum is still below the zero line, still negative here on the daily. So I would say, just looking at this and it just kind of coming down here, kind of neutral-ish or slightly bullish on the Russell 2000, and the Dow Jones Transportation still looks pretty weak. So not a whole lot of change there in those two indices. Okay, let's go take a look at the S&P 500 futures here. Okay, obviously very bullish, right? The S&P 500 has been on a rampage. Way up here, about 81 going on. Futures are still trading. They'll trade for about another 40 minutes before they close. Intraday has closed. We hit an all-time high here, just below 5,700 on the futures. The SPX, I haven't looked at it, but it's at least 20 points lower than this, maybe. Let me just take a quick peek at the SPX. Was it 5630? Okay, 5630. So it's trading about 30 points, 50 points, sorry. 50 points less, approximately, give or take, than the September futures. Okay, so anyway, the futures are here at 5690, really high, obviously approaching the 5700 mark on the futures. You can see some cycle lows here, couple bam. We got over to this one, extremely bullish cycle. Look at this thing, it just tracked sideways, took off to the moon. SMI is pretty high up here around 81. 70 over there, got as high as 86 over here, and 85. So it can go a little bit higher here on the SMI. It can even stay there for a while. MACD, very positive. Look at it, re-engaged even. Look at this thing. This thing just kind of gapped. Starting to gap right there, re-engaged. thought about crossing over, said, nope, look at this thing, very bullish. Never even came down and touched the bottom line of the stochastic momentum index here. Just got right there, just below the, which this is called 0. This is negative 40, plus 40 is 0 right in the middle. It really came down, touched the middle line, and just took off again. So that's extremely bullish. Very bullish activity going on here in the S&P 500. Okay, July 11th, which is tomorrow, probably not going to happen, right, kids? That ain't going to happen. Not in this cycle. There is nothing about this cycle that's weak. Not even any sign of weakness in this entire cycle. Okay, we got August 22nd, obviously, out here. We'll see how things go as this gets into the next cycle. As for the moment, I would say that the next cycle is going to be pretty strong, right? It looks like it's going to be a strong next cycle. But there could be some, we just got to, here's the thing, and I've said this many times before, just trade the market. Just trade what's there. Don't try to predict going short, none of that stuff. I like the idea of keeping a smallish position when things are on fire like this. Okay, just keep a smallish position, keep trading the market the way it is, and make your money. The 2-hour charts, there's 2-hour directional charts that I send out to members every night in an email. Okay, they get 3 of them. They get all 3 indices, the Russell 2000, the NASDAQ, and the S&P 500 2-hour directional charts. Those are the indices, not the futures. And those 2-hour charts are very powerful. They help you stay in the trade, keep you pointed in the right direction. So I said last night to the members in the email that I thought today would be an up day. Sure enough, man, was it ever. Kaboomski, right? Look at this, a range of nearly 60 on the futures. So really nice. Okay, so far I didn't look at the NASDAQ, but NASDAQ and the S&P 500 usually track each other pretty close. But so far the S&P 500, it continues to be strong, right? It hasn't responded so why do I look at the Dow Jones Transportation Russell 2000? Because they help with divergence. So there's definitely a divergence going on between the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Transportation, for sure. Let's just go back to the Dow Jones Transportation here for a second. And you can put them on as a matter of fact, there's probably a way to, give me a moment, I'm going to try to put them on the same chart, okay? There's a way to do that. But in any case, look at the Dow Jones Transportation, down. S&P 500 is this way. So a huge divergence between these two. And the Dow Jones Transportation is notorious for being one of the first indices, or in this case average indice, that predicts what's going to happen. It's usually one of the first things that happen. You see weakness in transportation, and a lot of times the market will follow it. But this market, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, they're, I know some people can disagree with me on this, but that's a propped up market. And there's a whole lot of shenanigans going on in the market, and especially in those indices. With BlackRock interfering with the market and doing the Fed's bidding, and I think they're doing some stuff behind the scenes, not even telling anybody. They admitted to some stuff. Oh, we're here to help save the day kind of nonsense. Billions of dollars in purchasing ETFs. But I think they're doing more than that. They just don't talk about it. I think they do a lot of stuff in the open market. I think it should be illegal, but for whatever the reason, they get away with it. And there's just other stuff going on in the market. It's not an organic market, guys. It just isn't. And I can tell there's inflationary issues as well that's keeping that market so overinflated, like a balloon that's going to pop. I talk about that all the time. That balloon will pop. Let me look at the Dow Jones Industrial for a second. Okay, very bullish, just like the S&P 500. Okay, but the Dow Jones Transportation, yeah, man, that's a divergence, right? It's going this way, S&P 500 is going that way. So I don't need to overlay those charts, just wanted to show that. There's definitely a divergence going on there. Okay, so back to the S&P 500 futures. All right, you can see it, right? This is going to the moon. Got Boomski. And at the same time, you got DJT going this way. Transportation down, S&P 500 up. All right. I'm not going to get into my little soapbox and talk about, then America's in for a huge crash. It is going to happen though. Just keep that in your mind. I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you exactly what's going to happen. Okay, but I just, like I said the other day, the instincts tell me 2026, 2027, we're going to start to see some, maybe even 2025, but probably 2026, we're going to start to see some serious weakness in the market. And I think going all the way out to early 2030s, there's going to be some big problems in the world economy and the United States. Okay, so just get prepared for that. I think it's going to happen. Meantime, we trade what's in front of us, right? Let's take a look at the intraday charts. Where were the trades of the day? All right, so this is the 15-minute chart looking at the S&P 500 futures here. Last night, the futures opened up way over here, and they're going to close here in about 30 minutes or so, right over here, okay? So we're looking at the 15-minute chart, right? It's obvious today was a very bullish day, right? So you look at last night, the pre-market, last night's like from here all the way to like, let's say kind of like right into here. Then we start getting into pre-market, really early pre-market, 5, 6 a.m. in the morning here. Okay. And check this out, guys. Look at this signal right here. There's another one right here. Both of these are pretty good, but this one's like absolutely spot on. This at 12:45 last night, just past midnight. Okay. You get that one, then you get this one right here at 3:30 in the morning. Now this signal right here at 3:30 in the morning is an absolute butter. Now why do I say that? You get this plum candlestick right here. Okay, now it's true the SMI is very peaky here. Okay, but now, and I've been talking about this for the last week. Okay, whether it's a bullish, heavily bullish, extreme bullish market like we're in right now, or bearish market, the same themes exist. Okay, they repeat themselves over and over and over again. So what am I talking about? So you get this SMI, the Stochastic Momentum Index. It's pretty high over here, right? It gets way up here. It's at like 79, 80 up in this area. Okay, and you're thinking to yourself, I can't go long with it that high. That's fine. You don't have to go long right there. But there's a couple things you got to really pay attention to that's going to help you get into the trade long. One, look at the MACD. It crossed over the zero line on the 15-minute chart here, and it's on the north side or the positive side of momentum. That's super important. You've got to pay attention to that. See that down there? See that how it's starting to gap out? You get this gap between the two lines, and both lines are above the zero line, right? Really important. See how it was riding the line all night long, and then bam, it breaks above it? You got to pay attention to that. Okay, so that tells you momentum is potentially changing to go long. Okay, but the timing's important. So the Giddus Plus indicator is telling you, hey, you can take a trade, right around this time. Doesn't always have to be exactly right at this moment, right? So here's how you do this trade. It gets up here, it peaks out. It's kind of hard to make this long side trade at that moment, right? Well, guess what? Just follow it. Follow it. You see prices just tracking sideways, right? You're watching the price. Literally track it at the 56.40 line. It dips down. And look at this. It doesn't even get to halfway down. And it starts to go up. Boom. That's when you're in, right there. You're in right here. That's when you take the trade. Look at this momentum. It's taken off. Now it's really getting bullish. You get a little dipsy-do. It farts around in here, 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's gone. Absolutely blazing. This is, when you see this stuff right here, comes down halfway, goes back up, comes down halfway, goes back up, that's bullish. Now this peak here is a little bit of an I gotcha, because it didn't get really extreme, right? So you gotta be careful here. Gotta use a little bit of wisdom. Maybe you get back out of the trade. Maybe you just take a really small profit right here. That's fine. You get back out, you wait. It does it again over here, right? It did it a second time right here. It didn't come to the bottom, right? It stopped before it got to the bottom, starts curling up. Boom, you're back in. Somewhere right around in there. Bammo. And from then on, it was game on. Look at this massive momentum run. Okay, that's how you got to trade, guys. If you want to protect yourself from, you're a little concerned about this peak, didn't get very high. You're seeing some red candlesticks. You're kind of like, okay, fine, just get out of the trade. You're either going to make a little bit of money or break even right here. It's not a big deal, right? And then when it re-engaged and went up, and you saw how strong this momentum is, oh my gosh, look at this. Even if we do this conservatively, 56.50 all the way up to, we'll just call it 80. That's 30 points. Easy 30 points. Easy. Okay? That's $3,000 for 2 contracts. You all know the deal. $1,500 for 1 E-mini contract. And then divide by 10 for the micros. So $300 or $150. Take your pick. You got a fairly decent size account, you're making thousands. You got a small retail account, you're making hundreds. Either way, a lot of money was made today. No reason not to make a ton of money. Very easy trading. I don't know, there's people that watch my video, and I bet they've been watching my videos for years, and they still won't become a member for $7.99. It's just amazes me. Even if you didn't trade futures, which you could open up a futures account for like a couple $1,000, okay, and trade the micros. But even if you didn't trade futures, you could still buy options, right? You can buy and sell options. I mean, you could buy calls, buy puts, okay? You can still participate. Right? There's no reason not to pay for the $8 membership a month, man. I mean, every day I'm on here showing people how to make money. It just amazes me how people will not give up $8 because they got to hold they got their fists is so tight that they can't bring themselves to spend the $8 because they think they're being ripped off. You're not being ripped off. Okay, how do you even know if the service works? You never tried it. If you come in and you're looking for like gold at the end of the rainbow, like tomorrow, don't join the service because that's just ridiculous. That's like a completely unrealistic expectation. But if you're going to come in, learn how to use the service for $7.99 a month and take your time, there's a good chance you're going to make some decent money. You're going to make more than enough to pay for the membership. Okay? I mean, today was an awesome trading day. Gold looks like it's re-engaged onto a new hourly cycle. It kind of, the hourly cycle bottomed a little early, and it took off today. It absolutely just monster mashed it. I think it probably went back up to like almost 2,400 again. Let's see, where's it at right now? It's at 2378. I think it actually got, it got up to like 2395 or something today. So gold went from like 23, 90, 80, 76, I think like 2360 or 50. Yeah, sorry, way down there from like 60. It went from 2360 all the way to 2390. So gold had a nice little run as well. Okay, and that's on the hourly cycles. Okay, that chart's available to members. All right, so anyway, I showed you how to make a bunch of money today on intraday charts, okay? I talked about the 2-hour charts. Okay, let me just show everybody the 2-hour chart real quick. I don't normally share this with non-members, but I'm just going to give you a quick look. What does one of the 2-hour charts look like? We're going to go over to the SPX here. We can do this with NDX. We can do it with the RUT. It doesn't matter. Let me grab a 2-hour chart. We're going to put on my directional indicator, okay? And boom, look at this. Okay, we're looking at about whatever. It looks like about 3 months here. 2-hour chart, 3 months worth of data approximately, right? Over here was a little bit red for a little while, way back in April. And it's basically been green ever since. I had a few, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 7 or 8 sessions in here that was a little bit negative. Right, you can see momentum went negative as well. And then from then on, guys, from like the beginning of June, it's just been banging. So this keeps you in the trade. This is for swing traders. Okay. The 2-hour charts kind of, you could do intraday trading on this, but it's more for a swing trade. In other words, you're probably going to hold a position for at least a little more than a day, right? Normally this chart would be for people who are doing some short-term swing trading. Okay, you might hold it for a day or 2 or 3, right? You might trade options using this, or you might trade the futures, which would be the ES or the micros, the MES. Okay, you got a lot of choices here, right? Because, I mean, just look at this. From the beginning of June all the way now to July 10th, this chart kept you in the trade. It's just telling you, stay there. All these little dipsy doos didn't mean much of anything. Why? Because momentum is positive, man. It is absolutely ripping here. Right? Momentum stayed positive. Even this big dip in momentum was not enough to turn it red. It just said, no, look at this. When it came down here and dipped, what did the price do? SP 500 practically ignored this dip and just tracked sideways. That's when you know you got some serious bull going on. Okay. So this is just an example of what the members get. They get this 2-hour directional chart every night in an email, Monday through Thursday. If we look at the NASDAQ, we're going to see something very similar, right? It's almost identical. Look, the NASDAQ and the Russell 2000. That's why I don't cover the NASDAQ, guys, because it tracks the SP 500 almost the same. And the NASDAQ is not quite as efficient use of money. It's a little bit more pricey to trade it. So I don't trade it because I like to make better use of my money. The SP 500 is a little bit more efficient. But I get why people trade it whatever they like to trade the NASDAQ. To me, I'd rather just spend my money wisely. And then the last index is the Russell 2000. Now this one's a little bit different story. Look how negative it was for from May all the way to near the end of June. The Russell 2000 was down. And I traded this last section here quite a bit. I traded half this section down here and made some money trading short for a while. Okay, and why? Because I was using the 2-hour directional chart. Guys, I use my own service. Okay, so today I just, showed what I normally show in my videos, but I also wanted to share just a little bit with everybody in the public what the members get. Okay, you also have hourly, well, these are hourly daily cycles. They really probably shouldn't be on there. Turn them off. Okay, but this is what they get every night email. They get those 3 charts. They get the directional indicator. As you can see right now, the Russell 2000 for the last about week and a half has turned positive. And sure enough, if you look at the momentum down here, it's slightly positive, right? Just it's kind of neutral with a slight hint towards the being bullish, right? So that's what's going on with the Russell 2000. But if you look at the NASDAQ and the S&P 500, on those indices, the 2-hour directional charts, I mean, they're smoking hot right now. There's no reason not to go long on those indices. Like I said before, if I go back to the S&P 500 here, I trade mostly futures, but guess what? I look at the SPX daily, I look at the weekly, and I come here and look at the 2-hour chart. I put my own directional indicator on there, the same one the members get, and I make a decision. Okay, this looks very bullish to me. Guess what? I don't just totally ignore and just blindly trade, right? I see that down here that the SMI has bottomed and starts to come up. Guess what? I'm back in the trade right in this area. And in this directional indicator, I'm calling it the ultimate direction 2-hour, okay? Whatever, it's just a fancy name. Basically keeps me in the trade. Look at this. From 5,500 all the way to 50, that's 100 points. Or this is, I guess SPX is dollars. But in futures, that's points. 100 friggin' points. I can't even begin to tell how much money that is. That's like $5,000 on one contract. 5,000. Okay? And that's just from last Tuesday to a little more than a week. It's $5,000 in a week. Okay, for one contract, one E-mini. Okay, so you can use the SPX, you can trade options on it, or you can do like what I do, you can look at the SPX, time your trade, and then trade the futures product. So what I'll do is I'll look at this, kind of get my game plan, make sure that what I'm seeing and do good analysis. And then I'm like, okay, I might even have 2 charts up at the same time. In fact, I got charts up all over the place in my office here. Okay. But then I'll go to the S&P 500 futures and I say, okay, it's time to jump in, right? Because you can see here, the futures are much more dynamic, right? I'm not going to have the 2-hour directional sitting on the futures because that's a 23-hour product. Okay. You don't want that 2-hour directional indicator on there for futures because it's just going to confuse you. Okay. That's the whole point of doing on the indices. Those are daytime only indices, right? They help keep you in the game, so to speak. right, anyway, I just wanted to share all that, right? I'm not going to do the traditional end of video, show everybody the service, because I want to just talk to you kind of straight talk, right? A working man's promotion here. There's a link in the description below this video, and there's also a link with some instructions in the top comment of this YouTube video. I'll just pin it to the top. Just read the instructions, click on the link, join the server. Okay, when you join there, you can ask me about the new members video. Just hit me up on one of the basic channels in the Discord server. Say, hey, get us, where's the new member video? Okay, there's S&P 500 streaming charts down there at the bottom. There's gold streaming charts. You can ask me about that. Okay, there's a lot of stuff going on here. For $7.99, guys and gals, this value is, no pun intended, but off the charts. I'm serious. It's very good. And you saw today how I use this service, my own service. I've talked about this before. This service was born out of me doing my own trading, coming up with some of my own indicators, using cycle analysis on different time frames. I just honed my craft. I've been trading probably 35 years. I've been trading cycle analysis probably coming up on 10 years now. I've incorporated that into my trading style. And I started to realize that what I had was a winning combination, and I turned it into a service. I've had this service now for, I don't know, maybe 3 years, something like this. I've been streaming charts for probably a little over 2 years. So there's members that look at the S&P 500 futures all day long. There's some members that look at the gold. Okay, there's plenty of opportunity in the service. So take advantage of it. That price is an excellent value. All right, that pretty much covers it, everybody. We'll talk to you all real soon again next time.